Welcome on into the Utah Blockcast. I'm Steve Bartle, Utah Insider for KSL Sports. Good to be with you on a Thursday. This is our Thursday afternoon episode. Excited about this one because it's going to be heavy basketball. And obviously with Alex Jensen taking over, this is a new era for Runnin Utes hoops. And I think there's a lot of excitement about the program. I think there's a lot to look forward to. And we had the opportunity to meet with Alex Jensen, Wes Wilcox, and all of the players a couple weeks ago prior to practices officially kicking off. And I've got some sound clips that I want to run through, and so we'll dive into that. But before we get into everything from Utah basketball, just a quick reminder: we're going to be doing a live episode tonight. Me and Josh Bennett going to be on YouTube, on Twitter as well, so you can find us there. So make sure to be looking for us tonight on the live feeds. We'll be posting those where we can. We'll be going live at 8 p.m., so be looking forward to that. We'll have a live Q&A section where we'll take questions from listeners, people tuning in. We'll run through some additional stats and kind of some interesting, bye-week type of grades and what we're looking forward to throughout the rest of the schedule, what's going to be important for Utah moving forward. So looking forward to the live episode tonight. Those have always been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of interaction from everybody tuning in, which has always been great. So looking forward to that tonight. Again, that's going to be 8 p.m. It's going to be live through YouTube and on Twitter, and you can find it there. So looking forward to that. Now, let's get into some of this basketball conversation. You guys realize we are roughly 2 weeks away from the season, from the first exhibition game. It's just exhibition, but Nevada is going to be in Salt Lake City October 17th for an exhibition game against the Runnin Utes, and I think that's going to be really interesting to learn about. And I don't know if that's going to be, if we're going to be able to attend or not. I assume so. I should probably double check that. And you guys realize 2 weeks from tomorrow, October 17th, we're going to have our first opportunity to get a look at the Runnin Utes under Alex Jensen as they welcome the Nevada Wolfpack to the John M. Huntsman Center for an exhibition game. Fans are going to be able to attend. You're going to be able to watch on ESPN Plus, listen to it on ESPN 700, and I think there's going to be a lot of excitement. So, it'll be interesting to see the turnout for the game. Again, that's going to be October 17th, 7 p.m. tip. That's going to provide us the first look at this new squad. And then, they've got another exhibition game going on the road to Eugene to take on the Oregon Ducks, and that's going to be really fascinating. I don't think there's going to be a way to watch that one, unfortunately, but I think that'll be a really interesting matchup to learn about as we dive into it. But on this one, want to dive into some of the sound clips that we got from Alex and Wes, and then also some of the players. And I think talking about what this team is potentially going to look like is the first point, is the starting point here in this conversation. I think with the turnover on the roster, with the makeup of the players that they brought in, I think we all kind of understand what this is going to look like. And for Alex Jensen, there's a little more detail that he's looking to figure out and iron out with this squad. But I think it's pretty clear that this team is going to play with a lot of tempo. They're going to get the ball up and down the floor. And, I think there's a lot of excitement about what that is actually going to look like on the floor when these guys, get into action. So let's listen to a soundbite that includes comments from Alex Jensen, Terrence Brown, Don McHenry, Ja'Kai Howard, Seydou Traore, and Elijah Moore. So let's get this clip up here.
Better idea every day, and it's kind of I mentioned it earlier. It's one of the fun parts about the situation we're in, and one of the struggles. I think that's probably makes it fun because we talk about we don't know who's going to start right now, what the rotations will be like, and it's actually been enjoyable because I like the group we have, and there's a lot of different combinations I think that we can go through. So that'll be the good thing about practice starting on Monday. We'll have more opportunity see those combinations together. They'll be positioned somewhere players haven't been in a lot, but it's fun to watch it come together and those guys play together in different roles.
The identity of this team is to be exciting. We're gonna play with grit. We're gonna play hard. I think one of those things we just gotta wait and see, but it's gonna be very special.
Yeah, same thing. I know we got a lot of different guys from a lot of different places, cultures, people from not even from the U.S.
Yeah.
So I think that like we're gonna be a lot.
Cool.
But it's one of those things where I'd rather just allow our game to do the talking and you guys to just see when it happens.
I'm putting in a lot of work, so.
Yeah.
I said we're fast pace, kind of like a similar to an NBA team type of style of play. Not the biggest team, but also one of the fastest teams, I'll say.
I know for sure, like a huge part of our identity that I can tell already is that we're going to play pretty fast. So I say a fast team up and down, getting scrappy and things like that, and just knowing like that we're in a Big 12, physicality is going to have to be one of those things as well.
Yeah, and physicality playing a role with the physicality is just our defense. Being able to guard the ball. Obviously, we're guards, so it starts on our end, pressuring the ball and helping the bigs, getting over screens, things like that. So we just really been emphasizing a lot of defense and keeping the ball in the front, and then playing our gaps and everything in the right way. So.
All right. So there you have it. Some comments from Coach Jensen and some of the players talking about the identity. Obviously, Jensen was a little more cautious, a little more guarded in terms of talking about the identity of this team, whereas the players were a little more forthcoming with what this team is going to look like. And it makes a lot of sense when you look at the makeup of this team. There are a lot of athletes. There's a lot of guards. It's a guard-heavy lineup, and I think that's going to lend itself to a lot of up and down play and pressure and defensive pressure. And I think that is going to be really good for Utah, to lean into that identity. And I think those are characteristics that I think a lot of fans want to see, and a brand of ball that Utah fans want to see. They want to see a team, embrace that name Runnin Utes and own it. And I think that's going to be something that this team will be pretty good at. These are good athletes. These are guys that can get out in transition, can get rebounds and get on the move. And I think we're really excited to see what that is going to look like schematically and how it all comes together. But I think obviously again, this is going to be a team that plays with tempo. And Jensen, we had the opportunity to talk with him again after their first practice. And, he cautioned everyone that, we'll play with tempo and we're going to move the ball up and down the floor, but we're going to make good decisions. We're not just going to play fast to get fast shots and take shots, early in the shot clock. We still want to make good decisions. And I think that's going to be the key for Utah with this group is, looking for early scoring opportunities, pushing the pace, but also creating opportunities in the half court and generating quality looks. I think that's going to be the key for Alex Jensen. Now, with Alex, this obviously being year one in a rebuild for Utah basketball, I think there's a lot of questions about what is success going to be. And, when you talk to or read about or hear about Utah basketball from national people, I think they have an understanding that, this team, it is a rebuild and this is going to be a process. And I think everybody here kind of understands that as well. In the Big 12 conference, this is a very competitive league. And for Alex, this is about the long-term vision. And I think what this year is about primarily is building your brand and setting your identity so that you can use that to build upon moving forward on the recruiting trail and bringing in the types of recruits that fit that identity, fit that culture, and fit your brand of ball. And I think that's going to be really important. So when asked about what year one success is to them, I thought Alex and Wes both had, really good answers that I think make a lot of sense.
To measure that, but I can say this, nobody wants to win more than us. And at the same time, I tell recruits and people all the time that myself and the staff, Wes, and the rest of everybody, we had jobs. You know, like we came here, we didn't come here to knock it out of the park in a year, but, you know, like I said, there's just, no matter what level of basketball you're on, there's certain characteristics that breed success. We don't want to be successful for 1 year or two, we want to be successful for the duration. And, you know, through the decisions I've made through the staff and the roster and other things, been very methodical and going to do it the right way. Now, again, like I said, I'm not going to want to ever lose a game, and I'm sure it'll happen, but I think, you know, there's a process. You know, Wes has been through more than I have that breeds success, and I think we're, you know, following that same guideline this time through too.
Yeah, the success question, I think, has to be answered with we are relentlessly competitive and want to win every single game. No question about it. And Al said the same. But the I'll say it this way. I would hope that this community sees a product on the court that they believe in the way that this team is going to play. And eventually, I hope we are there game 1, and if not game 1, game 5, and if not game 5, then game 15. But in time, without question, there will be an incredibly competitive, unselfish, hardworking, physical basketball team that is hard to play against. And you guys know Alex Jensen as a player better than I. Who he was as a player is the exact same type of team that we want to build on the court, and those characteristics are just what we laid out.
And I think, you know, for Utah fans, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear, you know, a clear identity, certain characteristics that you're looking to build with. And when you talk about Utah football, one of the things that has always been talked about under Kyle Whittingham is it's a very difficult team to play against. They play with physicality. They're well coached. They're disciplined, and I think those are characteristics that, you know, maybe haven't been missing, but haven't been emphasized. You know, the way that they are being emphasized by Alex and by Wes, and I think those are really exciting things to hear. And again, embracing the running again aspect of it, embracing the tempo and those types of things that I think a lot of us that grew up watching Utah basketball in the successful years under Rick Majerus. I was just a young pup. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't a fully formed teen or adult just yet. But I went to the camps and I learned from Coach Majerus and I know the emphasis, you know, that they put on getting the ball out and being fundamentally sound, getting up and down the floor, working hard, you know, getting the ball into the post with, you know, simple post entry passes and just the little details that I think have been lost. And I think those are all things that, you know, for the majority of this fan base that grew up rooting for Utah basketball in their heyday, those are exactly the types of things that you want to hear. You want to hear that relentless competitive nature. You want to hear the attention to detail. You want to hear about you know, the development and those types of things. And I think that is what's really exciting about Utah basketball. So again, I think we all are of the understanding that Utah basketball isn't positioned to win the Big 12 in year 1 under Alex Jensen, but that's not the point. The point is to establish an identity, to establish a culture and a brand of basketball that, you know, again, Wes put it very, very well, that this community and fan base can be proud of. I think that's been something that has been missing. It's an element that the great programs all have, is they have an identity and something that the fan base can, you know, count on and lean on. And I think that's what Utah fans want to hear. So I would be curious to hear from Utah fans what you sort of judge success on in year 1. Where are your sort of expectations and you as you look at this roster and look at the schedule and what's kind of what sort of how you sort of view this season? What is going to be important for Utah basketball to accomplish That's the type of stuff that I'd be curious to hear from Utah fans about. So make sure to hit me up Twitter. It's wherever you follow me, on YouTube. Leave in the comments, what are your expectations for Utah basketball this season in year one under Alex Jensen? Again, I think with this team and with this program, setting that identity, setting that culture is so important for the future success under Alex Jensen. It's all about building for the future. And one key element here with with Utah basketball and Alex Jensen and Wes Wilcox coming from the NBA is they're new to the recruiting world, and yet they're finding success, right? You look at the guys that they brought in through the transfer portal and really impressive stuff, right? I joked about this with Andrew Crowley on the Runnin Hoops podcast that's going to be dropping here soon. But going back to the spring portal window and seeing guys like Joe Tipton and 24/7 Sports and On Three, publishing edits with commitment status of these former 4-star blue chip type prospects and having that drum and feather logo on those edits, I think was something that for the fan base who has been dying for recruiting insights and recruiting updates like this and just being engaged in the high level recruiting battles. I think that was really exciting for Utah fans, which again is something that helps create more buy-in, create more excitement for the program. And I think that is also something that Wes Wilcox and Alex Jensen, given their professional background, I think that's something that they're very aware of, mindful of, and I think want to embrace more so than what we've ever seen under Utah basketball over the last decade. They want to have these types of recruits in. They want to have the blue chip prospects. They want to swing for the fences, and they want to have these sort of monumentous announcements with, with getting eyeballs on these commitments. And I think that is something that has been really refreshing. Wes Wilcox shared with us that he considers so many different things beyond just what it means on the floor. He is a general manager in the truest sense. And I think that experience is going to bode really well for Utah basketball in rebuilding this program, rebuilding the belief among the fan base, and building for the future. Wes shared with us that he considers, what does this mean for the fan base? What does it mean for the 12 guys on the roster? How does this impact rotations? What are going to be the headlines that this generates? What are going to be, now things that he has to consider? What is this going to do for our boosters? Those are all things that he is mindful of. And I think that's going to bode really well for Utah as we talk about, recruiting specifically. And for them, this has been a process, but I think it's one that they are committed to learning about, to improving, their sort of reputation on the recruiting trail. And I think that's really encouraging to hear. So I asked Wes and Alex about, adapting to the recruiting world. They had just picked up a commitment from Styles Clemens. They can't talk about the player individually, but in terms of adjusting to the recruiting world, I thought, both of them had some interesting things to share here.
It's changing I think it's evolving. It's changing every day. So you're trying to figure out how it works right now. We're coming from the NBA. It's a learning experience. But at the same time, you're trying to anticipate how it's going to evolve and change in the future. But no, I think we talk about it all the time. No matter what level you're on, there's certain things that bring success in basketball. And we keep going back to those and, have as our foundation. But, we get, more comfortable in this space. Wes talks about it all the time, for 25 years, he knew 50 players really good. Now that pool's much bigger.
Right. Yeah.
And that from high school to the portal to Europe.
Yeah. And to that point, that's one of the exciting parts of this job is there are so many opportunities. If you do the work, you spend the time, you have the relationship network, all of which we certainly do. And we absolutely know the way that we want to play and the characteristics of a team that we believe this community, this university, will be proud of. And we are going to build to those characteristics. And so it's actually like, in some ways, we think of it as like maybe there's certainly a disadvantage because we haven't been in the recruiting trail for years, but maybe there's an opportunity that we're coming at this with fresh eyes as the landscape is changing dramatically, and we're not anchored to anything that's happened in college sports in the past. We're looking at everything that's going on and saying, okay, where's the opportunity? How do we take advantage of it? What are the characteristics we're looking for? And that part has been like super fun. So, we're certainly 5 months or 6 months into it. We feel more confident now. We're humble in the approach that we still have like a lot to learn, but we are like excited and driven to try to figure that out and confident that we're going to be able to get there.
So, yeah, there you have it. I think it's clear that these guys understand what they're looking for, what they're trying to identify. And I think with the commitment of Styles Clements, the most recent commitment for Utah, their first commitment of the 2026 class, I think they're prioritizing a couple of things here. And it continues this trend from their transfer portal recruiting, which is an emphasis on athleticism, an emphasis on competitiveness. And I think those are going to be things that Wes talked about in terms of the identity and what we remember Alex Jensen being, under Rick Majerus, being a competitive guy, being relentless, playing with tempo. And I think you're recruiting to that now. And I think that's really exciting. So again, this is year one in a true tear it down to the studs type of rebuild. And this is going to be a process, but you can tell that Alex, that Wes, they have a vision for what this program is going to look like when they're humming on all cylinders. And I think that's really exciting to hear. So, man, I'm excited to cover Utah basketball moving forward, more so than I have been in a really long time. I think Alex and Wes and this group of players, I think there are going to be a lot of exciting moments. This is going to be certainly an entertaining team, more entertaining team than maybe we've had in the past. I think transition and opportunities in transition are going to be featured on a lot of highlight reels this season, which is something that, Utah, just for whatever reason, has never been really good in transition. And I think that is a key element to Utah's success this season. But anyways, before I start going off on tangents here, again, I think Alex and Wes, they have an understanding of what this team is going to look like. And I think they have that vision and the wherewithal with the staff. I think Alex has done a really tremendous job of bringing in people that will help him achieve what they're trying to accomplish. Bringing in Wilcox, who has the general manager background, bringing in Coach Chilius, who is an ace recruiter and brings to the program recruiting territories that Utah has rarely dipped their toes in, talking about basketball players from the Northeast, from Minnesota, from Seattle, Los Angeles, which are areas that Utah has recruited. But Coach Chilius has recruited at a really high level in all of these areas. And I think that's going to be exciting and will open up opportunities that we haven't seen for Utah, which again sort of gets back to Wilcox's comments about coming at this with fresh eyes and sort of being the new guy on the block. You're not aware of the recent history, the past history. Obviously, Alex is very familiar with the success at Utah, but they're coming at this completely new. And I think that's going to lead to, again, more swinging for the big swings for the fences, recruiting top level talent, which is just something that we haven't seen at Utah. So plenty more to come from Utah basketball over the next couple of weeks as we gear up for the season with an October 17th exhibition game at the John N. Huntsman Center. And then the season kicking off officially a couple weeks later. So I think this is an exciting time for Utah basketball fans. And again, just to sort of wrap this up and move forward off of this, going to be doing our live episode tonight, 8 p.m. Thursday, live Q&A. We'll have some takes and some interesting stats and all of that sort of stuff. Really looking forward to that and more. So looking forward to interacting with everybody tonight on the live, and I'll be back at it tomorrow.